Hello, Cheeseheads. We are live. This is the Cheese Room online on YouTube and in your face like drum and bass. I'm joined today by my good friend Ginny Gin Gin and a couple of other people who are insequential, really. HG, firstly, welcome to you.
Cheers. Yeah, Apfelsaft gespritzt for everyone. Nice Audi cup there.
Good evening,
Cheers.
Austria. And also from a dodgy part of London, the general himself, in his very smart attire, Mr. Franco Parker.
How you doing, everybody? It's nice to be here.
Slightly disturbing, Franco. You put a bit of feeling into it.
I'm tired.
You had a good day, Franco? What have you been up to?
Do you really want to know?
Working from his bed, apparently. Allegedly.
I did a half-day work, and then I went into central London to Harley Street to get some potential melanomic moles removed.
I mean, that's...
There you go. Okay. So I've had some minor surgery today, caller. That's what I've done.
HG, can you top that?
I've just been teaching minors, so...
Yeah, so I told you, wish you hadn't asked.
Wait, from my bed. That's a bit weird. But yeah, welcome to lockdown in Austria, where I teach from home. So bedroom it is.
Nice.
I mean, it sounds like the perfect way. I mean, I've been stacking beans on shelves, so what do I know? We'll move straight on. That's not the reason we're here tonight. We're here because this week marks a whole year since Jose Mourinho joined the club. A year. And boy... To me, that's flown by, guys, hasn't it? Absolutely flown by. Now, myself and HG have been beavering away doing lots of homework about a few things, and during this session of homework, happened to listen to an old podcast. The one we did, it was an emergency pod when Pochettino got sacked, and bizarrely, as coincidence would have it, the three of us got our heads together and talked about the dismissal of Pochettino. Now, Franco, I must say, if I could remember any of the quotes off the top of my head, I wish I've written them down, but the gist of it from you was this. You were devastated. You can't believe that Jose Mourinho is going to join at the point it wasn't confirmed. You hated the idea, and you would, I think the direct quote was, I'll give him a season, maybe a season and a half, and then I'll judge him. Well, no, and then he can go, I think was actually the... So, Franco... Firstly, do you stand by that?
Well, I think that I felt like that for about a week.
Yeah.
And then I kind of got over Poch, to be honest. Like I still, there is a sadness. You must admit, whenever you see these interviews with Poch on Sky Sports and the very wins, people manage to bump into him in like an Italian restaurant in North London and take a photo. I still kind of go, oh, it's Poch. I do miss him. Yeah. Steve Diver actually hates this talk. He's like, he's gone. Forget about him. But there's still I know you are. You're heartless. There's still a part of me that does miss Poch and does feel like the whole situation was very harsh. But it's all part of the story of Tottenham Hotspur, isn't it? And it's been an interesting year. It's not been as bad as it could have been. That's what I'll say for now.
I suppose the flip to that was
second in the league.
Second in the league. I mean, it's not bad, is it? The flip to that is, and I'll just stick with you for a minute, Franco. You were not so much almost upset on the pod about Pochettino, although you were. It was like Mourinho was the Antichrist or the anti-Tottenham. So have you softened your stance on Jose a little bit? Did you learn to love him in the documentary? What's your view on him now?
Yeah, I mean, when he came in, this is the thing. We didn't see the next week of his charm offensive, how he's a changed man, how he's going to have to learn to adapt his ways and stuff. And I think that's maybe occurred a small amount. The documentary, yeah, he had to ingratiate you towards him. He came across as very charming, quite funny. The team spirit he was building and stuff, it was nice. But is the football much different to what we expected it to be? Not a huge amount. I wouldn't argue. I'm still getting used to the fact that we play counter-attacking football and we play quite defensively at times. And I still think that the football we play relies a lot on our superstar players up front, Son and Kane. I mean, every top team obviously has great players, but I do think we're fairly reliant on them. But look, the season that we've got now and the squad we've got, you can't argue with it. It's the best we've had in ages. And if that's down to Jose, then, that's great. But yeah, I still don't think I was overly wrong about the football and what would happen to the team with him as the manager.
Interesting. HG, you were a little bit more pragmatic. I think Pochettino was almost done to you. It was like, yeah, that's the right decision. He needs to go. Still the right decision, and you weren't happy. It's fair to say you were not happy at all about Jose being incoming. What's your thoughts now, looking back on that day? Have your feelings changed at all?
Look, I think that I listened to the pod that you're talking about, and yeah, you're right. Like the idea of it being Mourinho, I wasn't too thrilled, but I also thought that Mourinho was the obvious choice and probably the only choice because of you don't give up the success that Pochettino gave us for someone who has provided less. For all of Mourinho's football, like he has won trophies, and that was the thing that we were missing. So it made sense to go for Jose. Since then, it's weird. Like all the wonderful football that we saw, 3 seasons ago now under Poch. Let's not sit here and say that we saw it every game. We didn't see it for a year before he was sacked, and sadly with Pochettino, like what we wanted to do was see him change, to see him make the changes that were necessary to get us to better results, to get us to bring back the press that saw us play this wonderful football. He decided to stop doing it. So, like, I definitely am more of a Mourinho fan than I was. I think that Mourinho, when he started, started as a manager, I quite liked him. It was the whole, the second time around with Chelsea was what really soured it for me I think I started to realise just how divisive he was and how he was adamant that other people needed to up their games to make sure that he looked better. I still think there's a part of that now, but I don't think we can really argue with too much. Certainly this season, and even probably with Project Restart. If you took the 9 games at the end of last season plus the 8 that we've had so far this season, it's probably a really good record.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 defeats. I don't think we had too many in Project Restart, and we've only had 1 so far this season. So yes, we've played some easier games perhaps, but still, like you want to win the majority, and that's what we're doing.
It's an interesting one. So, I looked up some stats. Do you know Jose with Spurs so far has got the lowest win percentage ratio since his early career? So, he since he was at Porto, there's a couple that he played sort of 30 games. He had 30 games in charge of professional teams before that. But since he was at Porto, we've got the lowest Jose win ratio. I'm sure he would probably blame that on the squad he inherited and where they were in the league, and the fact the squad was blitzed by injuries last season. But that's an interesting stat, isn't it, Franco? Is he a manager on the wane?
I don't think so. No, it's different, isn't it? He struggled for those first months in the job at Spurs. It wasn't a squad that he was happy with. He brought in some players like Bergwijn, Jedson in the winter transfer window, but you kind of got the feeling that he still wasn't happy with the squad. And don't forget, we had injuries to Kane and Son. And yeah, I'd be interested to see what the comparison is when they weren't playing, because I think we really struggled without them in the team. And he made, no bones about that, did he? It was, how am I supposed to play when I don't have any strikers was sort of his argument, wasn't it? And I think that, like HG said, when we came back after Project Restart with a full squad, the results were better. There was some stinkers in there, a few bad games. And this season, again, like HG said, we've had a relatively easy start. And it's the next month and a half, which will really show us where we are, I think, because we've got to play 4 or 5 of the top teams. Where we are at Christmas will probably give us a better idea about how Jose is faring as a manager these days. And don't forget, there's things like last season with Dombele, this season with Dele, those things that we were slightly concerned about, the way he treats players and his motivation techniques. Not everybody's happy with those, and there's probably some people that think that there's another way to manage a squad. But people seem happy, the squad seems happy, so I think he's not on the wane at all. No.
HG, does it surprise you that we've got the lowest win ratio of his career?
No, because we're probably the most difficult job he's had since that period at the start of his
Yeah.
career in Portugal. I mean, you look at Porto; it's a 3-team league. May have only been a 2-team league really, because Sporting Lisbon they're not always up there. And then obviously went to Chelsea and spent a lot of money. Went to Inter Milan, and I think it was at the time when Juventus were relegated to Serie B, so they didn't have a massive amount of competition there. Obviously, the Real Madrid time, yeah, like it's a 2-team league, so you only had to worry about the games against Barcelona. Really, I mean, I'm obviously making it sound worse than it was. It's not an easy job to manage Real Madrid by any means, right? I mean, because other people have failed. But yeah, let's face it, Spurs, given where we are, the difficulty of the league, yeah, it is probably the most difficult job he's had since he started at, was it União de Leiria?
You said that better than I could have done. I think my pronunciation, I'm not even going to embarrass myself by trying to call it, doesn't do that.
Don't. Just say Mourinho's first club. Just leave it like that.
It's his second, actually. He was at Benfica, according to Wikipedia.
Oh, yeah. There you go. So, second club. But it's obviously easier than saying União.
União. Just say it, Unai. It just reminds me of Unai Emery, actually. But União. And interestingly, another interesting stat for you. Where do you think, Franco, Mourinho ranks in your lifetime in win percentage of Tottenham managers in all competitions?
Behind Tim Sherwood.
No, he does not, actually.
He must be top then. Must be top.
No, that's a myth. So Tim Sherwood is top for league games, but do you know what Tim Sherwood's record is in cups? Percentage,
not great.
Percentage.
Probably
16%.
Oh, right.
I mean, that's pretty terrible, isn't it?
I didn't even think he would have had that many cup games to manage, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, again, you've got to take into account that we've played some real dross in the Europa League qualifiers as well. So they're a little bit skewed. I'd be interested to know what his league percentage is.
I mean, that real dross nearly beat us actually at one point, but yeah, you know.
Yeah, but none of us saw it, so it didn't happen.
So Jose's win percentage in all competitions is 52%. And to put that into some sort of context, Pochettino, our longest serving manager for many a year, his win ratio was 54.8% in all competitions. So not too far behind and not too dissimilar. Interestingly, the most successful manager in modern times was AVB, with a win percentage ratio of 55% in all competitions. I mean, that's pretty good. We were just reminiscing and saying, I wish we hadn't sacked him, but there you go.
I mean, to say his full name, it was AV Bale. I mean, let's be fair. Like, it was pretty much a one-man team.
But play to your strengths. Play to your strengths.
Play to your strengths. I mean, this is it. Like,
give it to Bale.
I totally remember the day that AVB got sacked, because it was the day I flew to the States to meet my now wife. And I remember landing in America thinking, like when I read what had happened, because I didn't really know who was coming next, and I'm pretty glad I didn't see it coming, because Sherwood was awful. But it, like that's what made me so happy that when we sacked Pochettino, I knew that we were going to have someone lined up, because when AVB left, and I do think it was kind of like, if you're not going to back me, then I'm going to go. Like, I don't feel like Levy really sacked AVB. I think AVB was quite happy to be going by the end of it. We didn't have a plan. We didn't have a plan, and it showed, because as decent as Sherwood was results-wise in the league, I mean, Vertonghen, I mean, we all saw the body language before that Liverpool game. It was like, I've spent the weekend up in Scousland and I have to play a game now. But he didn't really care. Yeah. And a lot of that has to come from the manager, because for the rest of Vertonghen's time at the club, you didn't see that. So there was a definite disconnect for those 6 months, and I was very happy that they were only 6 months.
Okay. Well, if you're watching along, as I know a few of you are, and please do ask any questions, and we will get to them at the end of the video YouTube epic extravaganza. Yeah, we will absolutely come back to them. So a few things I want to pick on. Jose, I mean, to me, it's a celebration of 365 days in charge. It will be, certainly on Friday, because I was actually at the stadium the day Pochettino got his marching orders. It was surreal, absolutely surreal. I'd been on the stadium tour, had my photo with Poch with his arm around me, Got home, he'd been sacked. It was like I'd literally put the kiss of death on him. And you know as well as I do, I've been gunning for Jose to be named manager for about a month or two prior to that. So for me, this is just a culmination of the callers, I suppose, fantastic forward thinking. And I am chuffed with the job Jose's done. I think last season he was in a difficult position. But that's not what I'm going to ask you about. What I'm going to ask you is, what is your favourite Jose quote so far? HG, let's go to you first.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. There've been quite a few, but I guess
you can give me your top three if you want.
No, I think.
Leave me with nothing.
Yeah, leave it. Yeah. Oh, come on, there's a lot of Jose quotes.
Well, there are, but only one really springs to mind, and so I guess that has to be the favourite one. That when he talked about being an intelligent sea, that to me is, because the thing is, like, we all know that Spurs have been a soft touch for most of our lives, right? And there's a difference between being a Lee Catamol, an absolute C who isn't smart, or being someone who is. And we haven't seen that. And so, like, I can't remember which game it was, but I think it might have been the Brighton game, where the last 4 or 5 minutes, like, we played it in the corner, deliberately so. We had no interest in having, giving Brighton even a sniff of getting into our box at the end of the game. And that's what we want to see. You want to see professionalism. I mean, like, being a C doesn't necessarily mean breaking the rules. It just means using them and knowing them and using them to your advantage. And I think that as far as Spurs have been concerned, it's all been very pretty. And to be fair, Pochettino brought that in too. I mean, there's an Argentinian/Portuguese flair to this that maybe the British managers haven't been so keen on.
Yeah.
But I think that has to be the major aspect, because we've seen it. We saw it in the documentary from Hugo that he has it, which I don't think any of us really expected. And so it's just it's nice to see that people have.
Didn't expect anything from Hugo, if I'm being really honest. It was like the quiet man is turning up the volume.
Just a white flag, huh?
Yeah.
No,
I'm not saying anything about the French.
No,
it's not that kind of pod.
Anything about the French and onions and garlic and stuff. But no, I think that's it. The intelligent C. There are a couple of others that have come to mind since then, but that's the first one, and so I'll stick with that.
Okay, Franco, hit us with it. What's your favourite Jose quote?
We're fucked.
Oh, yeah, he did do that a few times, didn't he?
That wasn't my favourite, although it was humorous. I think now he's become an Instagram star. I think him sitting on the bus having a little sulk. What did he say? Bad performances deserve bad results. Hope everyone in this bus is as upset as I am. Oh, well, that's quite humorous. Obviously not the most. I don't know.
Motivational.
Yeah, no, he wasn't really. Not even that. It was kind of fairly obvious what he was doing with that. It's not the most tactful, I guess, motivation technique. But whether it helped or not, I don't know. But that was a bad game, and the thing that makes me laugh is I don't really think it was all down to the players. He made some bad decisions in that game, but it's that deflection, isn't it? He's like, well, I'll just show that I'm annoyed, and it's the players' fault. So again, that's another classic Jose technique.
Well, it is. I mean, my favourite, I think, was he's a very, very good ball boy. And the whole fuss he made of the ball boy at the time, I thought that was just great. Just part of his charm offensive, part of him trying to sort of brush off the fact that he was generally abusive to most of the medical staff at Chelsea, and show that he's a newly reformed character. And I love it. I love all of that, because I think... that's Jose at his best. He's charming best when he sort of does those sort of things in press conferences and sort of gives praise out to other people other than himself, which, isn't always a straightforward thing for Jose by the look of it. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. Best signing and worst signing. Franco, we'll stick with you this time, so you get first dibs on this one. I almost feel like the quizmaster, Seb. This is great. Go for it, Franco.
I feel a bit sorry because I have a feeling that HG will probably agree with both of these. We'll see. But I think worst signing is likely Jedson. You can't really argue that it's not. He hasn't played. He's hardly featured. Whether that counts as a signing, it's a loan signing, isn't it? And where does Jedson play? He's played in a few different positions, obviously not convinced Jose in any of them. So you kind of wonder why he got him in. And you could see from the documentary that he whether he chose him, he was his first choice. He was clearly happy, speaks Portuguese. When he came in, it was kind of like, yeah, great, glad to have you here. But you're never going to play. So that was an odd one. There might be a little bit of argument here, but I would say probably the most important signing that he has made would be Højbjerg. He's the one that's filled a hole that we really needed to be filled. I think that would be what I'd say. Obviously, Bale could go on to be absolutely fantastic this year. Having another striker is a great thing. You could argue for a few of the other positions, but I think that Højbjerg is probably the one that we needed the most. And I think that apart from the first 2 games of the season where a lot of people were going, well, I'm not sure if we bought the right guy here. Since then, I think he's proved himself. He's been the battling influence that we need.
I agree. That's what happened there. You all faded away, and it was just the cameras on.
You just wanted all the limelight, didn't you, Caller?
All the limelight for myself. No, I didn't. I wouldn't say that. HG, do you agree with that? True or false?
Yeah, to be honest, I do. Like, I mean, Højbjerg was important just because we all knew that we needed a DM, and we got it right. I think that's the key thing about it. It's not just how well he's played; it's just how important he's been to the team as a whole. And yeah, with Jedson, like, I think it made sense at the time because we all know that Kane was out and Son was out and Sissoko was out, and we had half a season with those players not really going to be available. So it was a chance for him, and COVID took that chance away because
what happened with Jedson though? Because I mean, he's just not played at all, has he? I mean, surely if he's that good a player, which he must be rated. Why haven't we done anything with him? He's not had no minutes whatsoever. There's got to be an explanation. I demand an explanation, HG.
The explanation is that players got fit. I mean, that's it, right? That's the explanation. Lo Celso played his way into Mourinho's good books. Ndombele certainly has. Like, if you take Ndombele and Sissoko, that's 2 players that weren't playing before COVID hit. I mean, that would have been Jedson's part. Winks has never really kind of settled as a Mourinho player. Yeah. Huh?
We'll come back to him in a minute. There's been a bit of news about him today.
I think it's more a case of opportunity. Like, I don't blame Jose for not picking him now, but I think that Jedson certainly is a decent player. He's just further down the pecking order than he was back in February and March when to be fair he was playing games. Yeah. So it's not as if he had 6 weeks between signing at the end of the transfer window in January and then when COVID hit. So it wasn't a great amount of time, but he played minutes in a lot of games, certainly in the cup games. I think he even started the Champions League game in Leipzig. So, like, when we really were down to bare bones.
Yeah.
But I feel a bit sorry for Jedson because it was a great opportunity for him and COVID took it away. Had he been able to play more games and taken that opportunity, maybe we wouldn't have. I don't know. Maybe Ndombele would have gone, right? Because we would have been happy with Jedson.
Well, I don't think anyone's been happy with Jedson, especially Jedson, probably, to be honest.
I think we can't be unhappy with him. I mean, I think that would be really harsh. It was a low risk signing. I think Benfica were happy to let him go. Spurs needed an extra body. It suited everyone. It just time has moved on, and it's not suited Jedson now. But it's a shame more than a bad signing. I don't see it as a bad signing. It's just the worst of the bunch.
Well, I'm going to throw a couple of things out there for my best and worst because I'm not going to follow you two. I'm not going to be a sheep. I'm going to be a little bit more controversial. I'm going to say Reguilón is the best signing so far, purely because down the left-hand side we were just so flat and lacking, it was untrue. I mean, Højbjerg's still convincing me, if I'm honest. I'm not sure I buy all this bandage bollocks and, him being a bit of a Braveheart hero in the midfield. Did you watch him against Everton? He couldn't trap a ball. So the jury's out. Reguilón brings something completely different. Or Reguilón, I think it is the correct pronunciation. Gives us pace, gives us width. We haven't had that since Danny Rose and Kyle Walker were running down the league and running down the wings. And you know what happened that season? We finished second.
Yeah.
which is better than 6th. So to me, he's been my standout. And conversely, I'm going to say that my biggest disappointment so far is Matt Doherty. Because, to be honest, only because I would say Jedson, but you've already covered that ground. So I think if I was going to pick up a second disappointment, it would be Matt Doherty, whatever. He's been really, for me, no significant upgrade on Aurier at all yet. And if anything, not been as good as Aurier when we've seen Aurier this season. So I'm just a bit disappointed because I know he was used to be playing a wing back, and maybe it's the system, but then don't sign players that don't fit your system. Surely that's...
And that's the irony, isn't it? Because I think at that point he really did fit our system. Yeah. We all knew that Mourinho liked to play this 3 at the back when defending and pushing a fullback forward, because he did it with Aurier, and that would have been great for Doherty. Unfortunately, I mean, weirdly, we then signed Reguilon, who wouldn't have suited that system unless we were to flip things over. But we haven't flipped things over. We've gone to a more attacking system, with the fullbacks do go forward, and it leaves Sissoko and Højbjerg to kind of cover when necessary. So it's, again, like Doherty has been kind of a victim of the fact that things have changed a little bit. I don't think Doherty has played badly, but I don't think he's, I guess given the system, I can understand that. He's not been able to really to get forward, because I think he's been asked to defend a bit more anyway. Like the kind of the attacking fullback that we saw at Wolves, who would often play 1-2s with Adama or whoever was in front of him, hasn't happened. I think I saw one game when he and Lucas worked really well together, and I think there was a chance, maybe even in the Everton game right at the start of the season, where he got into the box and had a volley that could have gone in. So I do think that, I mean, obviously that was before Reguilon signed. So I think that there is a lot of system to it, but I don't think we can, I mean, again, it's all about expectations, isn't it? Like if you expect the world, then he would have disappointed. But I think that, it's all about being part of a team. Like I don't think he's been a negative to the success of the team.
I was just expecting more, I suppose.
But do you think that's because fans convinced themselves that Aurier was the worst right back in the world, and because Doherty's not such a vast improvement, they kind of think he's rubbish as well?
I don't think that anyone thinks Aurier is the worst fullback in the world. Maybe. Well, all right, maybe.
Have you been on the internet, caller? Have you been on the internet?
Have you been on Twitter? I think that everyone knows that Aurier defensively is a complete liability, and I would like to say that Doherty brings a bit more stability, but he's given away 2 penalties so far this season. So I can't even argue that.
I mean, one of them, he didn't do anything apart from stand still and have someone kick the ball at him, so it was a bit harsh.
Of course, yeah. But it still goes down as a pen against him, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line. So anyway, those are my 2, just to be controversial and different to you two, because I'm not
so controversial.
I'm so controversial. Here's a question for you then. Jose is kind of known for 4-2-3-1, fair to say, and defensive counter-attacking football, would you say, generally, gents?
I guess, 4-2.
Broadly.
I mean, I think it just depends on the type of team that Jose had. Like, when you think about his Inter Milan team, then absolutely 4-3-3. But then, Schneider was in that team, and Schneider, I mean, he was more of a 10 than an 8. So, look, I don't know. I think it's just about, I mean, Mourinho will say this himself, it's about taking advantage of your opponent's mistakes more than anything else. Mm-hmm. So, you can look at the Chelsea team and think Lampard obviously was more of a 10, who could obviously, drop back and be that passer, but getting on the end of things in the box and scoring penalties, that was Lampard's thing.
Yeah.
And we don't have necessarily an example of that. So, I think Mourinho's been pretty secure and solid about the way he wants to play the game. I don't think it's changed a great deal.
So coming on to my question, if you don't interrupt me, I'll get to ask it.
What was that?
Like you want to kill me. My question is, have we got an identity as Tottenham Hotspur under Jose Mourinho? And what is our style? Franco, I'll come to you first.
It's very difficult to say, isn't it? For reasons that we've already discussed, he had to deal with a period where some of our star players were out of the squad. and we had plenty of injuries. He's then come back with the full strength squad, and you could argue then that we didn't really impose ourselves on teams. We had some good games, but where the counter-attacking really worked. And again, this season, we've had some great results. Southampton and Man United, really surprising results, to be honest. But in those games, that counter-attacking style play. But it's not always the same with Jose. And whether that's intentional or whether it's just what happens during the game, I don't really know. The thing is with Poch, when we were playing at our absolute best, and you could see that we were harassing players as soon as they got the ball in their own half, and we were pushing up high, and it was high intensity. Keeping possession of the ball, you could see on a weekly basis that there was a common theme. With Jose, maybe not so much, but I think that is because he sets us up to defeat teams, and he, like HG said, he looks at teams' weaknesses and how we can beat them, and that does mean that sometimes we get dragged down to their level, but then that happens to all teams. So I think he's still trying to turn us into a really dominant force and a team that's confident playing a certain way of football. But again, he just plays the hands that he's dealt with.
Can we look at, let's say the results that we've had when Kane has been fit, right? Because he got injured, New Year's Day, I think, at Southampton.
Mm.
So if you take the 5 or 6 weeks that he was fit starting, and then since Project Restart, I think what we can say that Mourinho has is winning football. We've not lost many games when Kane has started. We lost at Man United. We had a bad result at Norwich because we should have beaten them. But, I mean, I guess you can include the Southampton game because Kane played a lot of that. But still, like, outside of that, we've not lost that many games when Kane's been fit. And we've won a lot. I mean, I think that's just it. It's not a case of being undefeated or, like, getting lots of draws. We're actually winning games. And we're 5 out of 8 so far this season. And the 2 draws, we were, seconds away from winning. It's not as if... it shouldn't be a shock that we're not blowing teams away, but we're doing enough to beat whoever's in front of us outside of the odd aberration, and I think they have been odd ones. What frustrated me about when Kane was injured and then Son got injured too is that we didn't have another option. That was it. That was the only way he knew how to play. And so it works when Kane is fit, but I think the jury is a little bit out as to what will happen if Kane gets injured again.
And I think even the Europa League games where we've not looked great, it's difficult to really read too much into those, because we saw it when we've been in Europa League campaigns before. Top players sometimes struggle to motivate themselves in those games, and we do get dragged down to the other team's level and maybe don't play as well as we need to. And also, we're obviously seen as a real big team to play against, and teams do up their game. Antwerp, that game, were absolutely on it. And even you think about the first game of the season against Everton, where it was like, this doesn't look great, because I don't feel like we sat back in that game. We were trying to press, but we were just too slow. Everton were just faster than us and wanted it much more that day. Yeah, they just, and that happens. First game of the season. All right, the preseason, we did have a bit of a preseason, but not really, and we looked okay in those preseason games. We came into that and we just looked a bit off the pace, and we still only lost by a goal. And that was from a set piece, wasn't it, or a header? So it's not like we got battered in that game either. So I think, like HC says, the games which we haven't won, we could have done. That Everton game, we could have at least drawn that as well. So there's just been fine margins so far this season. And I think that's the one thing, is that he's always keeping us in games. There's no game where we've played so far we've been like, wow, we got battered. But there are a few games coming up where that could happen, I suppose.
Well, the proof is in the pudding, isn't it? If we're going to be seriously up there this season, we've got to put a bit of a run together over the next few games, or continue the run we're on, I suppose I should say. So interesting. So to summarise that, we don't really know yet what Jose Mourinho's Spurs style is. Winning football.
Yeah, apart from winning, you take the 8 games that we've had in the league so far this season. I think we're using West Brom and converting it to whoever went down last year, but I think we're 6 points up on the same games.
Yeah.
And when you look at the hard run that we've got coming up of 7 games, I think we got 14 points out of those 7 or something like that. Or we lost 2. I think we lost at Liverpool and Chelsea, but they're difficult games no matter what the season is. So I don't know. I don't see us losing by more than 1, almost for the whole season. That would surprise me. We're going to be in games. The question is, are we going to be able to to stop the other team, because I think other teams have got decent chances against us. We've not looked great defensively, but we have created a fair number of good chances in each game, and it's a question about taking them. And I think that we've got the players to take them, especially if Bale gets up to scratch. And if we really do see Son, Kane, and Bale playing anywhere near to the capability that they can,
are they going to trouble anyone?
Yeah, they could easily score 2 goals a game by themselves just through their own brilliance. And then it depends of, we won't need maybe clean sheets to win games as much as we might have done before. So I'm actually not too nervous about the upcoming games. I think Man City look better in some respects than they did last season, but worse in others. And we beat them last year. So I don't think we have anything to be scared of.
It's a strange one for me when you talk about Jose's style at Spurs, because when he came in and took the job, he sort of stuck with the Pochettino philosophy, and we blew a few teams, like high-scoring games, weren't they? West Ham, we beat 3-2 in the end, but we dominated and played really good football. We beat Burnley 5, didn't we? And even Man United, when we beat them 6 this season, when we turn it on, it's like he's not this defensive manager that he's made out to be. We just do mix it up in games. I suppose that's the bit for me. There isn't really the Tottenham way as it traditionally is. You're absolutely right for me, both of you. It's the winning way. That's what he sees. That's what he wants. So interesting.
If you take the famous quotes from Blanchflower, we look to win games. We don't want the other team to die of boredom. I mean that's butchered completely, but there was that idea. And in Mourinho's face, it's a case of, look, we don't want them to die of boredom. We just want them to get complacent, and then we'll strike. And we saw. I mean, the Southampton game is a perfect example. They outplayed us for the first 45 minutes. We were super lucky to go in at 1-1. I mean, really, really lucky.
Yeah.
But then we suddenly figured out what we needed to do, which was just play the ball between the centre halves and the goalkeeper and let Son do the rest. There was nothing fancy about it, but Southampton didn't change the system, so we kept on taking advantage of that one weakness. Since they have changed it, Southampton, they've been on a good run themselves. So I think that's Mourinho's thing. It's not a case of us doing what Liverpool do or what Man City have done, of saying this is the way we play and we are too good for you to stop. His system is based on, well, you can try and do whatever you want to do, but we will find your weakness and we will take advantage.
It's brilliant. We will find you and we will kill you. Austria's answer to Liam Neeson right there. And I suppose my final question before we go to questions from viewers tonight would be, what do you think's ahead of us transfer-wise in the January window? So just picking up a point you mentioned earlier, Harry Winks has sort of come out today. I don't know who the interview was with, actually. I haven't seen it. I've just seen the headline. But it was Harry Winks has sort of not come out, Franco. Don't look too alarmed.
I was going to say, it's going to disappoint a lot of our female fans.
Harry Twinks has come out today and said, and he said that he needs to be playing to be in the England team. I mean, Christ, I wouldn't have him near bloody Burnley's team, let alone the England team. But it's almost a bit like, you need to pick me or I'm going to move on. Kind of was what I've read anyway, between the lines. Is that your take, gents? And who do you think is going to be in and out in the transfer window in January? Anyone? No one? HG, go you first.
To answer the ins and outs, what I'd like to see, I mean, I do think there'll be some kind of movement, but I think it will be more players like Jedson's loan he'll go back to Benfica. We'll just cancel that early. I'd actually like to see us do the same with Skip, if I'm honest. I think Skip has, I don't want to say proven himself, because he's not played too many games at Championship level, but
been injured, hasn't he?
Well, no, that's Parrott, I think. I'm not sure Skip's been injured, but I think with Skip, it's just that if he's good or too good for that league, and he's already proven to win, Player of the Month at Norwich and all the rest of it, then he, given the amount of games that we expect to have for the rest of the season, having him around would be useful. I genuinely believe that. I think if Højbjerg gets injured, like he's obviously not a big name, Skip, but he's the most likely to do the job that he does. So I think that would be useful. I could see Sanchez being sold because Jose's never been a massive fan of his, but that would only happen if the person we want comes in. But I don't think there's going to be much movement, if I'm honest. I just think it's going to be slight tweaks here and there. I read a rumor that we'll go in and pay for Milik because he'll only have 6 months left on his deal, so he'll be super cheap. But again, I don't really see that happening. I think Levy's more likely to sign on a pre-contract and just know he's coming in June. I don't think it will be anything more than that.
Be a good signing, Milic, I think. Be a very good signing. Do you think Dele's going to go HG?
No, I don't. I mean, it's the same with Winks. Winks obviously wants games, and I get it, right? I mean, I do get it. Dele needs games, but I don't see any benefit to Spurs to let him go. It might be a benefit to Dele, but it's not a benefit to us. I think that if we really do believe that we have a chance of winning things this season, then why weaken ourselves? We don't need to do that. I think Jedson's slightly different, but Dele's not. I think Dele, there still will be a role for him. So yeah, he's not going to play as often as Winks has been, but that doesn't mean we need to get rid of people. We don't need to get rid of him at all.
HG believes in Dele. Franco, what's your take? Ins and outs? Winks?
He's got some good points. I think Skip will stay at Norwich, though. Him and Max Aaron's the only players to have played every single league game so far this season, and he's won man of the match at least twice, and he's looking pretty solid for them. And I think this will be a good season for him to really get an experience of senior football. I think there's a danger that if he came back to Spurs, then he wouldn't play that much. Again, if we get injuries, you're probably right, HG. We could need with some more bolstering in that centre midfield position, but that's why I think we should maybe get somebody in. If you listen to the pod, I know it was a very hypothetical question that was asked by Seb, but and HG disagrees with me, so I'd be interested to know why. But I would say that Marcel Sabitzer is a definite upgrade on Harry Winks in terms of what he would bring to the team. I would feel a lot more comfortable with a midfield of Sissoko and Sabitzer than I would with Sissoko and Winks. But it's difficult. Winks looks all right in the England games this week. I only saw the second half of the Belgian game, which is what he played in, and I thought he was not too bad. He's a lot more progressive than people give him credit for, but there's just still aspects of his game where you just think he's not top level. So yeah, if we get one injury, you are faced with the fact that Winks will be playing football for us quite regularly, and I don't think any of us really want to see that. So we've got lots of games as well this season. If we continue in the Europa League, which it looks like we're going to, we've got, then all the rest of the cup games are going to start after Christmas. So we could potentially do with another centre midfielder is probably what I'd say. Who that is, I don't know. But HG, why do you not think Sabitzer is good enough?
I think the history of Sabitzer plays a role with me. I mean, when I first started watching him in Austria, he was an energetic right winger who didn't have much end product. I don't know if that reminds you of anyone. And the thing with Sabitzer, he's as soon as he went to Leipzig, I think a lot of Austrians were surprised because, I mean, at the time Leipzig were German second division, but still they were taking Salzburg's better players. So I think people were surprised because, I mean, Sabitzer wasn't one. He wasn't one of their better players. The better players were people like Campbell, who ended up at Leipzig later on, but it wasn't Sabitzer. So I think that Sabitzer has changed position and he's grown into a position that probably suits his energy more. In the same way that you could say the same of Lamela. He'd be probably better used in a central midfield role where he can get involved more. I think there's a slight difference in quality. Sorry,
he'd be sent off every game.
Who, Lamela? Yeah, possibly. But if you were to say to me, Sabitzer should come in and play the Lamela role, I'm happy with it, right? But I don't think Sabitzer really is a central midfielder, and he's certainly not the central midfielder from Leipzig that I'd want. The one I'd want would be Konrad Laimer. He's younger than Sabitzer. He's bigger than Sabitzer. I think he's just a better all-round footballer than Sabitzer. And so if we're looking to replace someone like Sissoko, which we probably should be looking to do, then I think Laimer would be a better bet. And he's certainly much better on the ball than Sissoko is. So I don't have much against Sabitzer. I think that when it comes to a central midfielder, I don't really want a worker bee, because that's what Sabitzer is to me. I don't think he's much more than that. And like, I know that I think his contract runs out next summer, so he'll be a relatively cheap buy. And I'm not anti us signing him. I just think there are better options out there.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, well, it's not weird, but at the start of the season, we said that Jedson was essentially a replacement for Sissoko and the understudy for him. But because he's not been put in the Europa League squad, there's no way to get him up to match fitness or to give him an opportunity. And then because obviously the League Cup game against Leighton didn't happen, against Orient fans, didn't happen. And then he's not had any opportunities to play. So it could well be that he leaves in December, but he would be the alternative option for that centre midfield spot. But he's not going to get trusted, is he? He's just not. Even if we probably had 2 injuries in centre midfield, he probably would play Lamella there ahead of Jedson, I'd imagine.
Well, that's that then. I'd just like to say, I don't know if you can see the comments. You can. I'm getting some shit for my glass. Just to be clear, this is a very good gin glass and looks nothing like a butt plug.
Mr. Ryan Horst.
So we'll come to some questions.
Brendan. Brendan as well just messaged me pod this week.
He's like,
oh shit, I've just realised I've got to do a Man City preview pod.
Oh, well, we're not doing that while we're here,
Did you hear that? No. Brendan's just realised that he runs a podcast.
Yeah, allegedly. So, a few questions. If Mourinho hadn't been appointed and Poch was still in charge, good hypothetical on this, who would you replace Poch with now? Franco, go.
The German bloke that HG likes, because I know that's what he's going to say. Was it Marco Rose or something?
Marco Rosa, yeah.
No, I don't know. It would be difficult. Maybe Brendan Rodgers. He's having a great season again, isn't he?
Let's play wind up HG.
Hang on a second. The thing is, like, if Poch was still in charge and Mourinho hadn't been appointed, can I just pick Mourinho again?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, you can.
I mean, like, for the same, like, don't get me wrong. I probably wouldn't have done, if I'm honest. I probably wouldn't have done. I'd have gone for someone who I thought was young and progressive and all the things.
I reckon you'd have gone for Ancelotti. That's what we said at the time.
I liked Ancelotti more than Mourinho, but I think if you'd given me the choice between Rosa, like I like Rosa a lot. I think
Nagelsmann?
No, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan.
I know. I'm just picking people that wound you up because
he
said Rodgers. I'll go with Nagelsmann.
Yeah, like if Rosa is Pochettino, then Nagelsmann is Brendan Rodgers. That's basically it.
Okay, so neither of them.
No.
Okay, that's that answered.
I think the point is that for a team of our size now and stature, then it has to be someone like Jose. And Ancelotti went to Everton, and all the other top managers are kind of in stable jobs at the moment. So Jose made sense. It's difficult, isn't it?
Next question.
The question would almost be like, if Mourinho went now, who would we pick?
Good
right?
question.
Would we go for someone who's as established as Mourinho, or would we go for someone who's younger? That's probably a different question. But yeah,
I don't feel like we're. Brendan, how many days have I been wearing this dressing gown? Got washed at the weekend, Bren. You'll be pleased to know. So just 2 days. Just 2 days now. But I've pretty much worn it every day for a fortnight now.
Yeah.
Until we win a trophy. I'll be wearing it until March, until it gets warm again.
Okay. Nick Dornan says, would you bring the 5 sub rule back? I was against it in the restart, but I think we are seeing the benefits of it now with players dropping like flies through pointless international friendlies don't help. I agree with that. Although it was the Nations League, not pointless friendlies.
Same thing, really.
Yeah, I know. I was being slightly tongue-in-cheek. Would you bring the 5 sub rule back, HG?
Yeah, because I didn't want it to go. I thought we should have kept it anyway. I understand that people say, well, it favours the big teams. I'm sorry, I'm not really sure it does. Right? There's still legs. Like if you're a team of cloggers, having an extra clogger might help. I just
Barely, I'm looking at you.
for example. But it's just like I understand that, yes, like obviously, like if we were going to say, well, squads can have 30 players, then that's favouring the teams with more money. But if you've got a squad of 25 and you're saying, okay, you can now name 20 and you can use 5, to me, in theory, that shouldn't. It doesn't advantage the big teams as much as some will have you think. That's just the way I feel, and regardless of COVID, I'd be quite happy to keep it the way it is. 5 subs over 3 possible windows of making subs. I don't know how to phrase that, but I just think that as long as halftime counts as one window, I'd be fine with it. I'm absolutely fine with keeping it.
Okay. Franco?
I'm in two minds. I think it served a purpose when it was introduced, and I just think there's something about the 3 subs, isn't there? It's like if you make those 3 subs early, you're running the risk of someone getting injured, you being disadvantaged. It's another one of these things that kind of adds a little bit of spice to the game of football. But at the same time, we are seeing lots of injuries at the moment, and I can see some logic behind it. The thing is, Jose never uses them anyway. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Apart from when he makes them all at half time because he's annoyed.
He does like a bit of that.
Yeah, he didn't really utilise it that much. So I'm not really fussed. It's really something that I don't care too much about. Sorry, Nick.
Well, for my money, Nick, I'd bring it back because I think it just livens it up a little bit, and the amount of like you've mentioned there, really, the amount of game time they play, I think it would really help to avoid injuries more than anything, which no one wants to see. Although, quite frankly, I'm quite enjoying all the injury news this season so far, with Liverpool players being kicked about and cropped left, right, and centre. Keep smashing them up. That's what I say. Greg Anderson, this one's more of a statement than anything else, really, but I'm going to disagree with it. Winks' strengths lie in taking the ball in tight spaces, moving on, and making himself available again to move the ball up the pitch. He is perfect for a possession-based team. He's perfect,
which we are.
Yeah, which we're not. True, but he's perfect for Spurs in the reserves. That's my view. Useful squad player, isn't progressive. If you look at his sort of pass map, it's all
if you don't look at his stats, yes.
Yeah. His stats lie, man. Stats lie. Don't look at them.
The thing is, like, we all think that Winks right now is no more than a squad player. Right?
I've been saying it for 2 years.
Yeah, but we all thought that always. Right? I don't think it's particularly new. It's just that. I mean, Greg is right. He's perfect for a possession-based team, right? And Franco, as he said, we're not that type of team anymore. So for Winks to be the type of player that we might want, you're going to have to look to him to be a bit more physical, because Højbjerg is physical and Sissoko is physical, and Winks he might try, but he hasn't got the. He's not a midget. I mean, compared to me and you, perhaps, but he's not a midget on a football field. It's just he doesn't have. He's not as imposing
he's
as the other
Franco's
two.
height. But not Franco's build. Franco's
like... Mate, I'd wipe you out if we played football. Size doesn't matter.
Absolutely does, but yeah. The only thing I'd say about Winks is he does the spin thing, doesn't he? Where he gets the ball, spins round in a circle. He's just a poor man's Scott Parker. That's my view.
But Scott Parker was a very good football player. I mean,
that's why he's a poor man's Scott Parker.
Yeah, but I just don't feel that they even play the same role. That's the point, right? Like if you're looking at Winks as a possession-based midfielder, then he's not going to be the Scott Parker, the N'Golo Kante role. He's not going to be the defensive one of the two. And so, yeah, there might be similarities in the fact that they're both short, but that's about it, really. Their qualities are different.
Okay, well, they
have good side parting too. I mean, let's be fair. They're very traditional footballers, you know, side partings, black boots,
very important.
Jumpers for goalposts.
He's a nice young man. You know, I'm sure lots of women would
great with a tea bag.
Take him over and meet them. I wonder how many takes that tea bag thing took, just out of interest.
I'm just looking at YouTube now, and I look like a beetroot. And Cooley, you look like you've got the rosiest cheeks in the world. It's not like in that color scheme that they've put on.
Well, you definitely look like a beetroot. That's an absolute fact.
fun.
Like, very angry ginger man. Not ginger, no? Not having it?
Not having it.
Okay. Lots of comments about my glass and gin. Very nice gin, by the way. Ludlow gin from Shropshire. Very nice tonight. And it's not a butt plug. And it's... and I love that. The glass looks more unstable than Sanchez at the back. Yeah, it's actually surprisingly stable. Strong and stable, some would say. Ryan Horst says, amongst other things, so honest question that should be raised. With Real having the buyback option, do we see him actually going? And if so, who do we get to replace him with? And he's referring to Reguilon, I believe. What are you laughing at?
Just, I love your pronunciations.
That's right, isn't it? Reguilon.
No, I just love you trying. Doesn't matter if it's right or not.
Reguilon.
Reguilon.
Reguilon. He's not French, Franco.
Well, that's what it sounded like.
Reguilon.
Yeah. So look, I think what is it? If he goes, it's because if he wants to go, right? I think that's the buyback. So Madrid may want him next summer, but
he's not. Yeah, he's not a slave. They can't literally drag him back to Madrid. We paid for you. Get back.
Yeah, and exactly. Because the thing is that would be a loan, right? So I think people seem to be confused by the difference. So a loan, they would call him back whenever they wanted if it was in the contract. This is different. This is only if he wants to go back. And so, look, he may well want to go back if Zidane's not there. That would be a pretty good reason for him. It's still Real Madrid, but I'm not worried about it, right? I mean, if he goes, he goes. We get someone else in. Right now, we don't need to worry about getting anyone in because we're happy with him. That's already an improvement as to where we were. So, yeah, we could sit here and say, well, what if Kane leaves next summer, or what if anyone leaves next summer? I don't see a great deal of point in doing that. I mean, I understand why people are worried, but I just no. Like, let's just focus on us.
Absolutely. I'd just like to say, Brendan McCurdy says that was spot on pronunciation, and then adds, for once.
I think Brendan missed it. Brendan missed us talking about Mourinho and Porto at the start of the season, or he would probably say Porto.
Oh, he would say Jose. No, he wouldn't. He'd say Jose. Jose. Oh God, you say potato. I say potato. Zara Lewis, if I'm from South Africa, Zara says, hypothetically, would you straight swap Sanchez for Skriniar? Well, I've never really seen Skriniar play much, but yes, because anything's got to be better than Sanchez. HG, our European football expert, would you?
If that was the only option, then yes, because I suspect that Jose wants Skriniar more, but I don't think Skriniar is the type of defender that we want or that I want to see at Spurs. I think he's very much an old school defender, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not. If you want your defenders to pass the ball, I mean Sanchez can't, but I don't think Skriniar can either. So we all saw most likely the own goal he scored in the game last week playing for Slovakia. So look, I don't know, but given that choice, yes, I think I probably would, but I don't. Yeah, I think there are better options.
I would too. Franco.
I feel sorry for Sanchez. I really do. And I still think there's a use for him because I think now that Dyer and Toby have basically cemented themselves as the first choice centre backs, I think in games when we're playing against pace, Sanchez is pretty useful, to be honest, and I think he would be kept for that reason. Skriniar's not the paciest from what I've seen, and I'm not sure whether his attributes are that much different to what Toby and Dyer can bring. So I still think there's a place for Sanchez in this squad, even though he's got mistakes in him and he's not looked great this season. That's the problem. I was hoping that he was going to at least kind of change a few people's minds and play well under Jose, but he doesn't really seem to be. And at some point, you do have to just say, look, we paid a fair amount of money for him and we put a lot of faith that he was going to be our centre-back for a good few years. But if it's not going to work out, it's not going to work out. And sometimes you just need to cut your losses.
Absolutely.
I think with Sanchez,
Brendan says, if not Skriniar, then who? I guess that's aimed at UHG.
Well, I like a guy who I think he's at Villarreal, Spanish guy called Pau Torres. That would be the first one that springs to mind. He's left-footed. He played
signed him
tonight,
on
I think,
Football
for
Manager,
Spain.
actually. I know this guy.
Yeah. So like, it's just, I think with Sanchez, he suffers from the fact that we don't play a high press anymore, because I think in a high press, when you kind of leave him at the back to use his pace and his muscle in one-on-one situations, then he's fine, right? But if you ask him, weirdly enough, to do what probably the easier central defensive role of just standing on the edge of your 18-yard box and hitting everything away, he struggles because it's not about using his physicality or his pace, or he gets turned very easily because he's just a bit too eager to get to it.
Yeah.
So like, I think Sanchez suffers a little bit from the system that Mourinho wants to play now, and so it makes sense. But Pau Torres, I think, being a left-sided centre back, young. That would be a choice. Yeah.
Tell you what, caller. What about the young guy from Leipzig? Do you want to pronounce his surname? Oh, Dayot.
What's his name? I'll have a go.
Go on then.
I don't know what you mean.
It starts with a U and ends in Pamecano.
I'm not even going
to.
No,
you don't even know what we're talking about.
I don't even know what you're talking about. You know, I'm a one club man.
Fine.
HG's got frozen there.
We're in trouble. Yeah, Upamecano, who plays for Leipzig, he's the hottest prospect in European football in terms of defenders. Did you just
call him Meccano?
Yes, Mr. Meccano.
Mr. Meccano. Oh, it's better than Mr. Magoo. All drunkards have red faces. That is aimed at you. Definitely Franco, and not me.
I'm pretty much as teetotal as HG is these days, to be fair.
Don't believe that. I've seen you at a game. Right.
Well, that's different. There's no games to go to these days, is there? Got no reason to drink. Can't be one of these stay-at-home drunks like you.
There may be soon. Apparently, they're going to start lifting it, won't they, when the country reopens? December the 2nd or 3rd. It's been the news today. Project with a picture of the Tottenham Stadium as it happened on the news report that I was watching. Boris is very keen to get Britain moving. People need to go back to the football, bursting with energy and enthusiasm and antibodies. Yeah, bursting with antibodies. Vienna calling. Hello, this is Vienna calling. Vienna calling.
Hello.
Oh, I'm in a sandwich of you two now. Brilliant.
You're in a HG and caller sandwich. How nice is that? How do you feel?
Violated.
You've
like a piece of meat.
You're going like a piece of red meat by the look of it. So I should mention at this juncture, because we are about to wrap up and go, that we have got a great tie-up with Football Prizes going, and you can find all the details to this over on the Facebook page, on Twitter, and on the gram. But the summary is, at the moment, they've got a Jan Vertonghen framed signed shirt. And tickets are $4.95, I believe, for this one. I've grabbed a couple of these already. But you can save 10% by using the code 10cheese on your tickets. So footballprizes.co.uk. Get on over there, have a look at it, and absolutely grab some tickets. If you don't, I will, and I have another piece of memorabilia hanging on my wall. Franco, thanks very much for joining us on this live. It's a pleasure. It's good to see you in a dressing gown. Any parting words from you?
No, going to bed.
I mean, you look like you just got out of bed, to be fair, but there you go. HG, anything from you?
No, stay safe, everyone. Lockdown here in Austria, so I hope that if you're in the same situation, just be smart, but stay safe and healthy.
Has that just happened, by the way?
Yeah.
What, the lockdown?
Yeah.
Yeah, the second one for us started today. So, only supermarkets and chemists and essential shops are open. Officially until December the 6th, just to see what happens to the numbers, but I suspect it will go on longer. I think they just said December 6th because they want people to think that they can go out and drink their Glühwein and spend their money later on.
Yeah.
But no,
I think that's
3 weeks out.
I think that's definitely what's happening over here. I think they're just going to go like pile on. yeah, December the 3rd, open the country. Everyone's going to go and have some, food and eat out to help out at Christmas, and
Yeah.
get
And
the
then kill
disease
themselves and
rampant
others.
again. Just ready for the third wave in January. Right. On that note, on that bombshell, thanks very much for joining me. And come on, you Spurs.
Listen to the pod at the
Come on, you
weekend.
Spurs.